PharmaPhobic is powered by Achieve the Lifestyle, a company dedicated to helping you empower your health, redefine your lifestyle, and all for the health of it. You're listening to PharmaPhobic, where we challenge the state of health in America. I'm Janie, a physician assistant, and I've seen how healthcare keeps people dependent instead of truly healthy.
And I'm Dan, a veteran turned fitness pro here to uncover the truth and explore simple and sustainable health solutions. From big pharma to big food, we're exposing the conflicts of interest keeping us sick and finding better ways to take back our health.
No fluff, no gimmicks, just real talk, real solutions, and a little bit of fun along the way.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of PharmaPhobic, brought to you by Achieve the Lifestyle. And we're here to help you achieve the strongest, healthiest, and most capable version of yourself. I literally took a chug of coffee right before, and then it made
Came
me
back
do
up
something
a little
weird.
bit?
No, it just made me do something weird in my throat. So that was a weird face that I just made. If you're on video, I'm sorry for that. But before we start off, let's talk about...
You're Dan, and I'm Janie. Hi.
People know us. They know us. They know who we are. Yeah, they know who we are. We're pretty much celebrities at this point. We've been at this podcasting thing for a hot minute now.
Maybe like D-rolls.
A hot minute. I don't know what number episode this would be, but we barely have 20
18?
episodes. No, more than that we've recorded, but published.
Oh, 19?
Maybe 20. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Basically,
I feel like we should know this.
Whatever number Janine, our lovely producer, is going to spit at us, we are seasoned vets of this podcast thing.
I think it's 19.
We are like, we're in it. We're up there. You see? It happened to you too.
We have exactly 17 episodes published, and including the trailer, it would be 18 technically.
Boom. Published 17. We're probably recording.
No, because the 18's going to release Tuesday, so this is 19.
Okay, so there we go. We barely have 20 podcasts, but I'm calling us veterans, big deals of this podcasting thing. Okay? Just I'm projecting future over here. But anyway,
I like it. Putting it out there.
Getting on topic. Let's talk about Achieve the Lifestyle for a second, because we never talk about what powers the PharmaPhobic podcast. Achieve the Lifestyle is our company, guys. Mm-hmm. And we are basically a health coaching business. We help people optimize their optimize their lifestyle so that they can achieve the healthiest, strongest, most capable version of themselves. And we're very long-term focused. So a lot of the stuff that we like to focus on and integrating and basically bringing that lifestyle component to it is basic as hell, because that's what's going to actually get you there. You know?
What did you say? Basic?
Basic as hell. We're basic as hell. We're basic AF.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's just something that I noticed working in conventional medicine is that's just a big piece that's lacking, because you'll be told, my favorite thing, exercise more, eat less. Okay, but what about eating less? Like, how do I execute that? That's not good advice, by the way. It would be eat better, right? But that's better is different for you than for me or, anybody else. And so that's where we fill in that sort of foundation level that I think is very much unaddressed, and either from conventional medicine or people choose to skip over that. And then, well, I'm going to take this supplement or this peptide or, do something to get this procedure so that I don't have to address my day-to-day habits, because that a lot is what's going on. And like Dan said, it's more long-term. So it's very rarely going to be a quick fix. Yeah. It's more making small changes, building upon them, to then you are in a position where you have a sound foundation of healthy habits and you feel better. And then from there, we start to do the little tweaks like, okay, maybe you could benefit from this supplement. Maybe we, optimize this, do this, start doing more of the higher tier things after the low hanging fruit is seamless.
Yeah, I think for me, what I noticed out there in the fitness industry was people would come into the gym and they would start doing things that are quote unquote healthy. We'd start talking about nutrition and we'd start with lifting weights and all this stuff. but they never really like got that momentum that would just and throw them into the full on drive where they're making significant transformations in their overall health. And I'm just like, man, something's missing here because we're giving, we're talking about this, we're talking about that, but something's missing, something's not sticking, and they can't make the full transformation that they want. Talking about health and body composition wise and that sort of thing. And it hit me, I was like, you know what? It's a lifestyle thing. You're not doing the things that need to be done consistently enough because you haven't bought into the fact that being healthy or being healthier is a lifestyle thing, meaning you adopt the habits and routines that make you healthier in the long term and you never leave them because this is how you live now.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? And that's really where the name Achieve the Lifestyle came from. Because if you get to the point where that prioritizing your health is a lifestyle for you, then you're probably going to be pretty successful in doing, achieving the body composition you want, getting the blood markers that you want, living a longer, healthier life. It's going to be more attainable. Make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the whole thing, guys. We're very basic. If you're looking for cold plunge strategies and freaking sauna schedules, yeah, we don't do all that. We do recommend, we can say like, yeah, you could, sauna is good for you, all that stuff. But we don't have a gimmick that's gonna get you healthier. We have a whole lot of paying attention to this basic stuff and addressing mental barriers and lifestyle issues and why can't you adopt these routines and that sort of thing that are gonna get you to a healthier version of yourself. We're beyond the macros and beyond the sets and reps of working out. That's part of the conversation, but we want to have a higher tier conversation, which encompasses all of that and then some.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And it's really individualized. So it's not like you plug into, like you purchase like a health plan, that's not right. But like a lifestyle plan, right? Where they just blanket statement of, you should get 150 minutes of walking a week. Da, 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 da. It's more like, okay, we go in deep. Like I primarily work with people on their lifestyle. We go in deep with what you're already doing and we find ways to optimize your lifestyle, not fit you into a box of you need to fit into this regardless of what your lifestyle is. Work, stressors, family life, commute is a big one. But also, I love to dig deep into things. And so if somebody has something sort of unique to them, and maybe I don't readily know it, right? Because, a family practice for over 10 years, I'm like, what is it?
Jack of all trades, master
trades
of none.
But finish
But
it.
a master of all is better than
Oh, no.
a master of one.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So basically, I know
Butchered it.
I can touch on a bunch of different things, but I love deep diving into things. But unfortunately, working in family medicine, primary care, it doesn't benefit me to deep dive into one thing because anything can walk into my door. And so when I work with clients with Achieve the Lifestyle, if you have something unique, I can deep dive into this. And I've been playing around with offering more things within our packages, but it's difficult because a lot of people have their own health insurance. They have a primary care provider. And so you're paying for your health insurance. I want to try to exhaust what we can get through your insurance because you're already paying for it before I have you do additional things if they're not necessarily needed. But I think some of the things like a GI map is a wealth of information that unfortunately conventional insurances will not cover. Some will, but not. So I'm playing around with adding those things in. So it's just to say that we're continuing to optimize our process for people and our
Yeah, it's an ever-changing
offers.
thing. And honestly, what you said there about not fitting people into a mold, but actually molding the thing to where they're at, that's important because I think we know the principles apply to everybody. The principles of long-term health apply to everybody. You got to lift weights, you got to manage your stress, you got to get your sleep right, you got to eat the right stuff the majority of the time, you got to get outside, you got to have better relationships. that applies to everybody. The question is, how do we take that and fit it into where you're currently at in life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're building a business, kind of like we are, your hours are going to be a little different than most people, you know? So how do you manage that? What should your workouts look like when you're dealing with reduced sleep, that sort of thing? That's what we really do really well. Taking the principles and tailoring them to wherever you're at in life.
And untangling a lot of myths or societally driven pressures that are put on people where they feel like they have to do things. I'm going to write something up about things that we put on a pedestal, like, like working through lunch, or I stayed up all night working on this, or I haven't taken a vacation in 6 months, just we sort of put on a pedestal running ourselves into the ground and wear that as a badge when really it's not doing things for you that are beneficial. And a lot of people, not necessarily I've worked with, but who I've spoken to, they want to achieve this idea of a perfect body, but they also want to work, 16-hour days, or they feel like they have to. And I try to tell them, you can't serve two masters, right? If you really want this thing with your health, but you're doing something that's actively not allowing you to achieve that, you need to choose what to put more energy into. Because if you want to put more energy into working crazy hours to achieve a career goal, then you likely aren't going to have the most optimally healthy body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with
And
training.
so, yeah.
People want to do crazy stuff, but they want to feel good too. It's like,
Yeah.
You at some point you're going to be pulling in different directions,
Yeah, and
especially
so
if you're not a professional athlete or something.
It's untangling that. It's finding a balance. Optimal health, optimal lifestyle, feeling great is an annoying balance of things. And so it's trying to tease that out. And also a lot of times, and I just had a conversation with one of my clients about this, it's what they have to do. And I'm just there to support and help reinforce, right? But it's my goal is that you work with us for a little bit of time. We get you to where you want to go, or at least have a foundation level that you can build upon. And then I would love for you to not have to work with us anymore because you're doing awesome. That's the greatest reward for us. And so
I also think that if you get healthier, then there's the pay it forward thing comes in, that you go out and you're modeling a behavior that might spark something in somebody else and be like, you know what, this homie did this. I want some of that. And they start kind of following your example. Next thing you know, helping one person actually turned out into helping 5 indirectly. And we're changing the landscape of health in this country. That is really the overarching goal of this podcast and of our business, is to kind of just change where we're headed health-wise. You know what I mean?
So check us out on our website, achievethelifestyle.com, Instagram, Achieve the Lifestyle. We try to generate, right now our Instagram's heavy on the podcast, but we're going to try to get back to generating some like sustainable tips, information, content that can help reinforce your healthy choices. If you have any questions, feedback, please DM us, email us, work with us. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was a long commercial for Achieve the Lifestyle.
Yeah, but, what was that, like 10 minutes? Woo.
Yeah, woo. But this is a nuanced topic, this health thing, and the way you coach it, it's very, it's a dynamic thing, ever flowing thing. There's no necessarily like outline, like, well, then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. It's beyond that. But with that in mind, let's get to it. Health variety show coming your way, Oprah style, minus the Illuminati. Let's go. Okay. Health news. I got one for you. There's a study that was released on glyphosate.
Uh-oh.
Yes, ma'am. Everybody's heard the word glyphosate by now. If you haven't heard of the word glyphosate, I'm going to use it by its commercial name, Roundup. Okay, the weed killer. Okay, so now we gotta deep dive a little bit into the history of this stuff, of the Roundup. I'm sure everybody's seen Roundup, used Roundup. If you go to Lowe's, you see all the shelves filled with all the 2,000 kinds of Roundup there are. Um, whatever. Do we want to kill weeds that bad that we've got to use this super toxic stuff? Okay, let's get into it. So, you know it by its commercial name, Roundup. It's also, I think, Max Pro is the other one. There's two types of pesticides. It's a pesticide, a herbicide. They use it as a weed killer or to keep pests off of, stuff that we're farming. Okay. Roundup was made by this company named Monsanto. Everybody heard of Monsanto? Maybe, maybe not. But you've definitely heard of the company that owns Monsanto now, because Monsanto was sold for like $13 billion just a few short years ago, like 2-3 years ago, to this company named Bayer.
Interesting.
Oh, Bayer, the pharmaceutical company, bought Monsanto.
Aspirin, heart health.
Yeah, there you go. Monsanto, who declares themselves a food company. Okay, so Monsanto is considered. Why would a pharmaceutical company buy a food company, guys? Come on now. Go with me. Walk with me now. Okay, so the whole thing is the dark history of Monsanto. If you really start digging into this company that gave you this disgusting pesticide, herbicide that's sprayed on pretty much everything we farm in this country, except for some organic stuff. Because guys, let's dig into the organic labels. Organic doesn't mean that it's pesticide free. It means that they can only use certain pesticides and chemicals on the produce. Unfortunately, you and I want to believe that organic means that it's free and devoid of all those chemicals, but that's not what it means. So the history of Monsanto. Monsanto came up with this weed killer that they wanted to sell to farmers. And, we're talking back in the day now, probably the 70s, 80s, maybe even further. Roundup, that they wanted to sell to farmers to basically kill the weeds that were kind of choking their produce out and, keep the pest away from their produce and their crops, basically. But what happened was that was killing the fruit too.
Oh no.
Okay, so you're not just killing the weeds, you're killing the crops as well. So Monsanto got into this thing where they basically started creating fruits and vegetables, so crops that could withstand the use of the Roundup.
So genetic modification.
Boom. So they basically came up with the GMO process for fruits and vegetables so that they could sell the Roundup. So it'd be like, hey, now I'm going to sell you the seed of this crop that is strong enough to withstand the Roundup that I'm also going to sell you for your farm.
So here's Roundup to kill the weeds to make you more profitable, but I'm also going to kill your crops. So then you have to buy the seeds that I make that are genetically modified to withstand
the bullshit that I'm going to spray on
the product that I gave you that killed your crops.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. So you basically have a problem and a solution, and I'm selling you both. Okay.
Weird.
So that's the background on Monsanto. Now, this Monsanto, that's just the wave top of it. We could talk about things that Monsanto did in other countries like India and Africa, where they basically got kicked out of the country for all the shady practices that they were running on their farmers with the seeds and all this stuff. That's beyond, and we'll discuss that at a later time. But this is a dark, dark history that this company has.
I feel like we were talking to somebody, was it Sully, who worked on a farm?
Yeah.
And they had to like wear hazmat suits because the stuff was it
correct?
Was it
that was in
same?
Yep.
Same product or?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
The same product. Because this is in such common usage in our farms. It's crazy. Like even in Europe, they use it, but they use it less. And then there's derivatives of this glyphosate-based herbicide that seem to be even more toxic than just using glyphosate. And there's a really funny video out there of a guy debating, he's basically interviewing a guy from Monsanto, like one of their chemists or whatever. And the guy is telling me, this is super safe for human consumption. You could basically drink it.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh, really? Oh,
We
you
have
got a
some.
glass of it right here.
Yeah.
Drink it. And he's like, oh.
Didn't he say, he's like, I'm not stupid.
Yeah, exactly. He just, this is a hilarious video. You want to look this up on YouTube because I'm just like, oh, there you go. But anyway, it's, this stuff's pretty toxic. So.
And I hate when they know something's toxic, right? But then they say, but the dose given isn't sufficient enough for the toxicity. Well, okay, because all humans are the same. We all process things the same. We all metabolize things the same. We all react the same. There's no difference between any of us, right?
So let's lay
That's
out.
sarcasm, but it infuriates me. And the whole FDA thing that we've talked about, generally regarded as safe.
Yep.
Well, when you talk about safety of my body, my intake, and it's generally, thank you.
FDA
that.
approved FDA is cool with the use of glyphosate.
But anyway, I don't want to get off. So
well,
back to
all this is basically the introduction here to the study that just got published. It's the global glyphosate study, and it's a combination of some people here in the United States and some European stuff. It looked like it when I was looking through the funding, because guys, when we pull up studies, we scroll down to the funding and then we actually come back and read the study, even if it's stuff we like. So this seems that Boston University was involved, and then there's a bunch of Italian kind of universities on there and research agencies involved. And I knew there were Italians,
Stop.
but yeah.
I apologize to any Italians that are listening.
So it's a European and US combined study. Then the global glyphosate study here. And basically the premise for this is because there's an agency, International Agency for Research on Cancer, that in 2015, so 10 years ago, which glyphosate's been in use longer than that, but like way longer than that, they came out and said that there seemed to be a correlation between the use of glyphosate on our crops and cancer. Mm-hmm. Now let's think about, we discussed this with Danielle, we've discussed this in many podcasts. Let's think about the prevalence of cancer globally, but especially here in the US, how it just keeps increasing and increasing. Every year we diagnose more and more people with cancer. Every year more and more people die of cancer. So this is not up for debate that cancer is a problem, right? Okay, that's established. So they pointed this out 10 years ago. Hey, I think there's something there. So took a couple more years. They commissioned this long-term study between Europe and the US. And here's where people are like, oh, it's not a human modeled study. It was in rats. They have these special lab rats that they use for a lot of these studies. But here's the thing. Think about it. Can you commission a human study on glyphosate where basically you're going to poison people directly with glyphosate?
I mean, we've done it before, not with glyphosate, but we're going to talk about that on a few.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, but obviously it's unethical as hell to commission a study on humans, right? So we got to go with the next best thing, which is animal. Listen, they're mammals too. So if it's toxic to them, 9 out of 10, we can assume that it's going to be toxic to us, right? Mm-hmm. So they basically dosed these rats with the doses that they deem safe. So I got to put it right here. Acceptable daily intake and the no observed side effects dosages of glyphosate. They put it in their water. Okay. Now, guys, if we spray this stuff, you see farms getting sprayed with the glyphosate, that's going to get sucked into the ground. It's going to affect the groundwater. Obviously, when you're going to eat this crop, and even if you rinse it off, you're not taking all that trash off. Mm-hmm. So we're ingesting the glyphosate. Okay. It's not that it's sprayed in the air and we're ingesting it. It's going into our digestive systems. We can also talk about the rise in autoimmune disorders, but whatever, and gut issues and all that stuff. So what happened with these rats, they started getting all sorts of cancer. The ones that they observed, leukemia, skin, liver, thyroid, ovary, mammary gland, adrenal, kidney, bladder, and pancreatic cancers. What does that sound like?
A lot of cancer. I
Well,
don't know
yeah,
what you're going with that. Yeah.
the most common types of cancer that we see today:
Mm.
skin cancer.
Skin, lung, colon, breast. Yeah. Lung wasn't in there, right?
No,
But
lung
lung
isn't
would
in
be
there.
more because of the
Yeah,
smoking
but there's
and other
kidney,
things.
bladder, pancreas. Pancreatic cancer
I
is
don't think pancreatic cancer is that common. Pancreatic cancer is just scary because by the time you identify
yeah,
it, it's
it's out.
progressed so severely.
Liver, thyroid cancer. This is crazy.
Thyroid cancer is pretty common, but usually it's caught early and slow growing. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is insane.
Yeah.
This list, literally all the cancers right there. Like, so the rats that didn't have the tumors that they spotted in these rats, they started growing tumors and this sort of thing, are the percentage of seeing this in these types of rats, independent of study, just in general,
Mm-hmm.
is less than 1%.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very specific to the study. Okay.
And I think it would be worth, and I don't know if this study, because I didn't read the study, Dan did, but what would be worth knowing is if rats independently, like at baseline, do get these cancers, but at less than a 1% rate, how aggressive are they compared to the aggressiveness of cancers with glyphosate introduced? Because you could argue that, like prostate cancer, for example, is you could say it's inevitable for men. Like if you autopsy men that live into their 90s or 100 and you autopsy all of them, the majority of them will likely have prostate cancer, even though maybe it wasn't identified while they were living. It's just something that has been known to occur. Yet, why are some way more aggressive at a younger age? Is it something, I'm not saying it's glyphosate, but is it something that is in our environment that's taking something that, yeah, may naturally occur, but we would die with, not of, and making it more aggressive, replicating faster, affecting us more? That's
Yeah.
just
I mean, well, a lot of these rats were dying before the study was even
right.
even
So that's
over.
why I'm wondering if somebody could say, well, these rats get these cancers anyway. Okay, yes,
No.
but
Remember, back to the
no,
1%.
yes, but I'm saying, but does glyphosate not only increase the rate of these cancers, but the rate at which they progress
Yeah.
to make them more aggressive?
No doubt. And
Right.
listen, parentheses here, we're not saying that glyphosate is the only cause of cancer that we have. Trust me, we got plenty of other BS
But-
around us that could be giving us cancer. But this is significant because
And it's something
really 100% of us are being exposed to this.
exactly. It's something that affects us all, and it's something that could be a big rock, right? It could be a big thing that if we take it out,
Yeah.
would we see huge influences? Maybe not right away, but 5, 10, 20 years down the road.
I mean, if we drop cancer rates by 10%, it'd be huge.
Right.
If we drop them by 20%, that's insanely huge. You know, but so this could be a factor. This could be a factor.
I'm going to guess that that study comes out and it does highlight the dangers of glyphosate. I'm going to just go ahead and put it out there that something's going to come out, that the study's going to be sabotaged. It's going to be said that it's not valid because the consequences of removing glyphosate. So this is a hypothesis. If the consequences of removing glyphosate result in decrease in cancer rates, and it disgusts me to say, but that's a huge loss in money.
Billions of dollars lost.
And would the powers that be allow that?
So keeping in mind that the cancer industry employs hundreds of thousands of people that make really good money. Not to say that they're all cheering for cancer to continue or anything like that, but the cancer industry, you're looking at over $400 billion in revenue a year, and growing. That's a lot of money. That's a big chunk of the economy.
And you're right. There's not.
And if we
not
reduce
everybody...
that, because you would drop cancer by 10%, and I'm not some Wall Street guy here that could tell you, well, if you reduce cancer by 20%, that means that there's going to be a however much reduction in the yearly revenue of cancer centers. Let's say it cuts $100 billion out of the cancer revenue. Some people are going to be pissed when you lose $100 billion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you want to make another $100 billion, not lose $100 billion. And that's why we say the incentives are not there to really solve this. Now, granted, we're over here talking about this study on a podcast. I haven't heard any of the mainstream news talk about this. This is
Really?
huge. This is a
Yeah.
huge chunk of news. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because this is something that touches 100% of our lives.
And I'm sure
Everybody eats motor scooting food. Everybody eats produce. I mean, some people don't eat any produce and everything comes in a box. But if you eat freaking pasta,
But
you're
I'm
buying
sure-
wheat that's
yes,
sprayed
exactly.
with glyphosate.
Glyphosate still touches
Yeah,
it.
so you're still affected by this.
Yeah. What I would argue that eating fresh produce, even if it's, and this is just coming off the cuff from me, but even if you're eating produce, the naturally occurring antioxidants in fruits specifically, could they counteract the harmful effects of glyphosate, right? Because antioxidants in our food that our body has combats irregular cells that develop.
That's why you need to be super dialed in. But we're theorizing here, of course. But I think it becomes a matter that this is how you always hear about the healthy person. Oh, they ate with salads and all this and that got cancer.
Yeah.
You know, this is probably what you can trace it back to, you know, and this sort of thing where there's all these exposures to toxic material that we're getting, even though you're living a quote unquote healthy life. And this is one of them. Your stuff is sprayed with crazy pesticides.
Yeah, because it is in the general news that colon cancer specifically is becoming more apparent at a younger age,
Yep.
right? But there's no media or publicity on why, like what's driving it, right? And don't come at me with red meat. I'm over that, but people don't realize that the inside of your colon, your esophagus, your small intestine, stomach, the inside of that is directly exposed to the outside world, okay? Because you eat, which is outside world, and it goes into your body, and then it filters through that into your body. So the inside of your colon is the outside, okay? Therefore, it's coming in direct contact with these things, which would make sense that it's becoming more disrupted because it's not getting metabolized. It's directly coming through it.
Yeah. So, and then this goes to the carcinogenic characteristics that they were noticing in these rats.
You said that really weird.
Carcinogenic characteristics.
Carcinogenic
Characteristics.
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 Characteristicae.
You put the wrong syllable.
You try to make fun of me and
I
your
did,
joke
and I
backfired.
fucked it up.
Yeah. So
If
that's
you
what
put
you
the
get.
wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
That's what you get for trying to make fun of your husband. But the stuff that they were noticing on them, genotoxicity, so alterations to their genetic expression.
No.
Eh?
No.
Eh?
And then this is where people are like, it's genetic.
Yeah. But I'm saying, it's like, if we talk about, well, it's genetic. Yeah, so here we go. This stuff had an effect on the rat's genetic expression. Epigenetic alterations. Oxidative stress, which is one that we will talk about in a future episode. Yep. Systemic inflammation. Okay, everybody knows that one. Oh, my ankles are swollen. Oh,
Systemic inflammation.
my
then
joints hurt.
that's oxidative stress. Systemic inflammation can cause issues with your mitochondria, which then causes issues with energy, which causes issues with diabetes,
Blood
which causes
sugar
issues with hypertension, which this is all,
And then I got two heavy ones for you. Gut microbiome dysregulation.
That's what I just said. Inside, outside.
Oh, and endocrine disruption. Dropping testosterone levels. Anyone in on this? On the drop in testosterone
Increasing
levels?
rates of infertility.
Yep. Anyone in on this? So
Increasing rates of PCOS. I don't know if there's increasing rates of PCOS. I just think I've been seeing it more like in my face.
endometriosis is another one that's been popping up a lot more.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that to say. I'm not going to speak on that because I don't feel comfortable doing that.
But
So
guys, all of this, and I think we should definitely in the future deep dive into Monsanto a little bit more. And by consequence, we'd have to talk about Bayer because the international issues with this company. I mean, they almost had to sell the company, even though they were still super profitable, because the name was attracting a lot of negative publicity. Makes sense? Abroad even. So now it's Bayer. Now you don't talk about Monsanto anymore because hey, Bayer bought it up for a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
And it's gone. It's gone, guys. It doesn't exist. It's fine. There's no more Monsanto. You're good to go. Okay. Even though the operation that was Monsanto is alive and well.
It's like Scooby-Doo where they take the mask off and they're like, oh, it's you.
Yep. Yep. Related to that, there's another study about living in close proximity to golf courses and Parkinson's disease.
Interesting.
I mean, and we're guys, we're down here in South Florida, so there's golf courses everywhere. Janie, this is my time to tell you that at some point I probably will quit jujitsu and play golf.
Oh my God. Your thoracic mobility and the ability to like separate your and to swing is non-existent. So I'm not worried about that.
Hey, a lot of my clients play golf, so I'm like immersed in golf talk at least half of my day.
But you've never played besides putt-putt.
Girl, listen, I am an athlete. There's athletes. I am an athlete. I could play golf if I wanted to. You know what I'm saying?
If anyone cares about maintenance of where was the part where you hit the ball? Like the
tee?
The tee? The maintenance of the grass around the tee or anywhere that he would have to hit a golf ball. If anyone's concerned about the integrity of that soil and grass, they would not allow you on there.
Funny story. I've told you this, but my uncle is a PGA level golf instructor. He's been teaching golf for probably 50 some years at this point. And he tried to teach me how to swing, how to drive years ago before I left Puerto Rico. And we were at the Hall of Fame. Guys, this is like, golfers are like, really? I'm like, yeah. He works with pros. He's very high level golf coach.
If you had hair, you'd be like, we're at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we're at the Hall of Fame, and he tried to teach me how to drive. And I did beat a hole in the green.
Not shocked. Not shocked.
That's when I said, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So me quitting jujitsu for golf, not happening.
I mean,
gotcha.
I took this man bowling. And you know, like when you bowl and you like he whole body, like he Batman bowls.
Girl,
it's great.
I'm meant for sturdiness or applying pressure from top mount in jujitsu. I'm a brute force guy here, no finesse. It's not happening. But I find it funny, you know, maybe when I'm like 55, I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'm just gonna putt around just play around with the golf. Just see what happens. We'll see what happens between now and then. Anyway, correlation here between living close to golf courses and Parkinson's. It's funny that this came to mind, and I've heard about this, and I had it in the periphery, wanted to talk about it. But I was training one of my clients, and he likes to fish, and he was telling me where he goes fishing, and I was like, "Hey, do you eat what you catch?" And he's like, "Well, it depends on where I catch it, because where I was fishing this last time that I was fishing, it's close to this golf course." And he's like, "I don't want to risk, the runoff from the golf course." Like he didn't want to eat that fish because he doesn't want to risk. He doesn't know what's in the water there. And I'm like, yo, this brought this study back. And I was like, yo, have you heard of this? And he just had a natural, like a gut feeling that it wasn't going to be a good idea to eat the fish that he's catching close to this golf course. Dude's awake. He's on it.
Is it Zach?
No, this was Jeff. My client, Jeff, quiet man, Jeff. He's a young guy. He's like turned 27 this week. Happy birthday, Jeff, if you're listening to this. And he told me, and I was like, man, you're very like that. Your intuition's spot on. And I started talking to him about this study. So this study is what they call epidemiological. Oh my God, my accent's so bad today. I'm having a hard time with it. Anyway, they basically commissioned this study over time, and they took medical records from people with Parkinson's from Minnesota, Wisconsin area, those areas. And they basically studied their medical history, where they were living and that sort of thing. So it's not like they were checking on people that were living on golf courses, okay? Again, we're pointing to what could be seen as the shortcomings of the study, because all these studies, none of them are infallible.
Right.
And we're just drawing conclusions as we can from certain studies. Funding, this was NIH, and it was, who else funded this study? Another Parkinson's research, Michael J. Fox Foundation. So we're comfortable with that. People that are interested in Parkinson's and solving this issue. So they found that the closer that people live to the golf course, and they say within that mile is where it's most toxic, but it expressed up to 3 miles away. The incidence of Parkinson's in these people was way higher. And they're basically correlating it to what's sprayed on golf courses to maintain them. Glyphosate like products, etc. Pesticides, herbicides, things to keep it green and soft and all that stuff.
No dandelions.
Exactly. And then that seeps into the groundwater and basically seeps into the water that is sent into the houses that are around the golf courses. So the incidence, it's fairly high, the correlation here. They're talking over 120%.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a very high number that they're talking about with people that are closer to the golf courses. Now they say like 6 miles is kind of where it stops, where they don't see a connection there, but within 3 and definitely within 1, it's a very, very high
Is it
correlation.
just exposure via water, or is it like they're like the air?
Well, good question. They're running on the water theory.
Because I don't how do they know that their water is being sourced from there? Because
well,
you know
it's
what I mean?
going into the groundwater. Like maybe that's why they chose these places.
But does the ground, so like rain happens into the soil, goes down, but I guess I'm not quite understanding how the water is getting to the houses, because in my mind, the water getting to the houses is coming from a source, like a plant that's
could be in the area.
In pipes, right?
Yeah.
And so does it penetrate the pipes? I wouldn't think so.
No. That's not what's happening there.
Is the water coming from the soil? Is that pulling into the local plant that then I don't know.
There you go. So it's like affecting, it's seeping into the groundwater and that sort of thing. And then that's going into the streams and that. So if you look at the golf courses here, like when we drive past all these golf courses, they're usually close to a canal. So that water's seeping into the ground, going into the canal, then that's being pulled somewhere else to pipe into the places. But they're going with the groundwater. But you pose a very interesting question, because if you're spraying it, that shit's going into the air too.
Or even like exposure. Like I'm sure when you are golfing, you touch grass, right?
Not as much. That brings me an interesting one. And I read this years ago, so I have to. This is one that we should revisit. Turf. AstroTurf, and people laying on it.
Yeah.
And this is a European one where they were saying that the incidence of cancer in youth that played turf sports, particularly soccer. It's soccer, guys. Don't come at me. It ain't no football. Anyway.
I played soccer.
The what?
I played soccer.
Yeah.
On turf in college.
Yep. So they were noticing that people that laid on fake turf and played these sports in this fake turf, the incidences of cancer were going up. So that very interesting
on the turf
one.
by choice.
Yeah, but
sometimes I got laid out on the turf.
Oh no doubt. Yeah, women play soccer very differently than men. That's why I'm way more. I'm not a fan of soccer at all. Like it's one of my least favorite sports. I'm sorry, guys, if you love soccer.
We've also never played,
and I never will.
But I feel like you can't say until you've played.
The first sport ball that I ever got was a soccer ball. There are sports that I look at and I'm just like, I'm not, listen, sports are great. I'm just saying, it does nothing. Soccer does nothing for me. I just see people running back and forth, chasing a ball. Nobody ever scores. And you might get a game that ends 0-0. Like, what are we doing, guys? You know?
Oh, for sure. But football's great because you get one goal and 6 points.
Football is fast. It's violent.
Fast?
Yes.
No, rugby's fast.
No. Rugby's fast because it doesn't stop.
Right.
Rugby's vibe. Listen, rugby is woo. We went to a rugby game recently, and I was sad that rugby came from Europe, and we didn't make up rugby in America.
I used to play pickup soccer. Our girls' team would play pickup soccer with the males' rugby team. That was fun.
Rugby that's a man's sport right there. That's a big boy sport. But football, the athletic expression in football is one of the top athletic expressions in any sport. These guys, you get a freaking running back or a receiver on a boom, juking and cutting off with that ball. That is jumping over a dude. It's crazy.
I would argue that there is juking in soccer as well.
Man, y'all juking is slow as
and
hell.
and I think that there's a higher demand for a big aerobic base in soccer.
There is.
And also a lot more, well, I guess football, you still move laterally, but multi-directional movements within soccer.
No, the power expression in football is way higher. The power and speed expression is way higher in football. Yeah. The aerobic base in soccer, respect, great.
And the multi-directional movement.
Who also has a high aerobic expression?
Swimmers.
No, and they play a man sport? Rugby.
Yeah.
That game doesn't stop. Right. So you have the endurance of soccer with the collisions of football. So all that to say, really what sold me out on men's soccer, women's soccer is different because you guys play for keeps. What bumped me off, and the guys when they hear this, Ed and Rob when they hear this, shout out my boys Ed and Rob, they're gonna be laughing so hard because they know I can't stand soccer. But it's the flopping. It's the flopping. All this all these guys that they touch them and then they're like, oh my God, he broke my arm. I hate that.
Yeah. And no, I just like that as well.
Oh my God. And the flopping now made it into basketball, but whatever.
And back football a little bit.
No. Football?
A little bit.
No, it's collision sport, baby.
Ooh, I have a video to show you then. Do not push up your glasses with your middle finger at me.
Oh, man. No, it is just, it's funny. It's funny. Yeah, people are going to be like, oh, Dan's hating on soccer. Yeah, Dan hates on soccer. Sorry, guys.
No.
Love that you're playing a sport. I'm sorry that it's soccer.
Anyway, sorry. About the turf.
Yeah, so that study on the turf, it's very interesting one. We should definitely look into that one.
Yeah, I've seen some lawsuits about it, but I haven't dug deeply into it. But anyway, so the golf course and...
The golf courses in Parkinson's. So yeah, they're focusing on the water component of it, but the big stuff being in the air makes sense too.
So my other question is, was this study to specifically look for incidents of Parkinson's with people, or was it something that they were just looking at the general health of people and they happened to stumble upon, oh, there's an increased risk of Parkinson's? So what this study kind of says, this is a correlation we found, therefore more studies should be done to dive deeper into it.
That's the conclusion. There's always more studies should be done. But it started because they were noticing this, looking at the population that was getting Parkinson's.
Oh, okay.
Then they noticed this commonality so then they went into it.
So they were specifically looking for Parkinson's. It wasn't.
Yeah, this is all commissioned by Parkinson research type foundations. So they were looking okay, let's look at the population that has Parkinson's, and then let's start figuring out what they have in common. And then they found this golf course correlation and went straight into that. And it's like, oh, wow, there's a significant number of these people that got diagnosed with Parkinson's that were living close to golf courses. It's a correlation. It's not a causation, meaning it points to a link there, but it doesn't mean that this is exactly what causes Parkinson. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And so not to instill fear in people who play golf or who live near golf courses, but it might be worth filtering your water.
Yeah. I saw the comments on the study, and a lot of people were asking about reverse osmosis water purification units, aka ROPUs and Army talk. And yeah, those were the questions around really filtering your water.
Yeah.
And Brita filters don't count, guys. The reverse osmosis is what you're looking at if you really want to purify your water.
And I think it's also important to note, because we talk a lot about, when we talk about glyphosate, when we talk about seed oils, when we talk about all these things, we understand that it is impossible to have 0% exposure, right? And we know that.
We've messed it up, our societal structure, to the point where we're exposed to carcinogenic stuff day in and day out, multiple times a day. And we're probably exposed to carcinogenic stuff right now that we don't even know.
Yeah. And I would say that the human body is amazing. There are some things built in to there are some things built into our body, like cellular processes that can handle some exposures of toxic things, right? So we do have things innately in place that can handle that. However, the rate at which we're being exposed, the volume of exposure needs to be monitored because there is only so much our body can do.
Yeah, and that's where
Because we get in trouble when we overwhelm, right?
Well-
So that's why, sorry to keep but that's why when we say like, hey, we want to decrease our exposure, it's not get hyper fixated on glyphosate or seed oils and, you know, isolate yourself completely because there's no other way you can avoid it. It's like, hey, let's remove big exposures. Let's try to take some steps just to decrease the exposure and then see how you feel for it.
and doing a lot of stuff on the other end that we know can combat that. Because if you have all these exposures, then you're eating trash, then you're just helping this process along.
So overwhelming the body.
So we want to do stuff that highlights and augments the natural healing processes and natural of your body, meaning eating the proper food, nourishing, getting those vitamins and antioxidants and all that stuff
Right,
in there that
so-
helps you fight this BS that you're being exposed to. Because you're right, unless you move to the middle of nowhere, which, hey, listen, guys, if you're interested in this, Janie and I would like to start a commune where we farm our own food and
I just want to live in overalls.
you know, and we grow our own animals and that sort of thing. And we are out in the sticks and we live these crazy healthy
and
lives.
this is great because we live in a commune. Like I have some cows I've formed a relationship with. You have cows, you do. And then I'm not going to eat my own cow, but I'll swap with you. I'll eat your cow.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you're an expert potato grower. Janie's going to be all up in your stuff, supporting your potato business,
Potatoes.
you know? So, but anyway, that's the whole thing, that unless you do something like that, we're going to be exposed to all sorts of stuff, guys. I mean,
So what are some big movers that you think? So I would say trying to eat more whole natural foods. And you could say, well, there's glyphosate. Well, like I said, these things also have antioxidants in them, but trying to eat more whole natural foods, avoiding prepackaged foods. That's one big
Yeah.
mover, right? I'm not saying only eat whole processed foods, but try to get the majority of your intake from them. Don't cook with, heat food in, drink hot liquids out of plastic, I think is a big
if
mover.
this is where my bodybuilders, I'm like, Brev, y'all need to get with Pyrex and like get your game up. Cause I see these bodybuilders still eating out of plastic Tupperware. I'm like, Brev, what are you doing?
Yeah.
My boy, everybody knows that stuff is crazy.
Yeah,
So-
can you just imagine like some bodybuilder and it's like on their bikini, it's Pyrex.
Yeah, like, I mean, get sponsored. Get your Pyrex bowl game up, man. I know, I guess maybe they do it for space because the plastic ones are flatter like this. And
But
they
the
can
glass
fit
ones can be flatter, but also be for, things not breaking. But then you can get the Pyrex with like a silicone wrap on it so it can handle impact.
Yeah, I just listen, things that are pretty cancerous that we can knock off right off the rip. Heating plastic stuff up, don't. This, coffee cups get controversial here, like to-go coffee cups, they're lined with plastic on the inside.
So bring your own.
Obviously, but even this, like the top of our brewmates, it's plastic.
Yeah.
So when you start drinking from it, it's going through plastic. So usually I like to drink it without the cap majority of the time. And this is where we get into reducing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
So just
I
take
don't
away
drink
things
out of
where you
this
can-
thing every day. It's today because I wanted my Laird's and we're driving here while I'm drinking it. But usually I'm drinking out of my mug at home or I try to take the cap off.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I could just drink it straight. So things that I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm reducing chances. But one big rock is, guys, if you're still heating food up in plastic containers, fam, I don't know what to tell you. That's 2010 right there. Like you need to come up to these times.
Yeah.
What other one you got?
Filtering water.
I want to rope you for the house. They're expensive.
Let's
they're pretty
go.
pricey, but I think having a rope you for the house would be it's
So
it's a
here's
move.
how this works. Dan says, I want to rope you for the house, which means Janie's going to have to find a rope you for the house.
Can I add something in there? What's the deal with Kangen water filtration systems? Because a lot of people swear by Kangen water.
Kangen? I don't know.
I
about
haven't
Kangen.
heard of this.
It's like a $5,000 water filtration
$5,000.
system, and it alkalines water. It makes it alkaline.
How do you spell it?
So it might be a rope-u and then it remineralizes the water.
Yeah, it's
K-A-I?
I think it's Kangun.
So it might just be a
Kangen.
brand of rope-u.
Okay. Yeah, it makes it alkaline. It keeps the mineral.
Echo Ultimate Hydrogen Water. It's a water ionizer?
Mm-hmm.
What is Kangen water?
But is it a filter that
Delicious
then,
water
or is this
created in
after?
filter your tap water, but they also produce ionized alkaline and acidic waters through electrolysis. It's from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Sis. I've heard
So we probably need to look.
I don't
into
know
this.
enough about ionized water.
Yeah.
And I've heard, who's that guy that was on Sean Ryan?
Brecca.
Yeah, Brecca
Which
talks
people are
about
going to hear that name and be like, oh my God, he's so it's like.
But he talks about hydrogen water, like hydrogenized water,
Yeah.
right? And like the benefits from it, even just laying in it. And again, though, that's one of those like top tier things.
That's like up there. That's like
in price. And also, I mean, if you have the means to do that,
we're talking about
go
you're
for
doing
it.
99% of the stuff right
Yeah.
already. If you're still eating out of a drive-through window, fam, you don't need to
Yeah.
worry about no hydrogen water.
Yeah. But I think just getting a good filter to filter out things like, glyphosate, fluoride, whatever else.
Yeah, and then
Like
with
heavy
reverse
metals.
osmosis, it
Yeah.
purifies the water so much that there's a remineralization process that has to happen on the other side because water is meant to have like certain minerals and stuff in it. So if you were drinking water, like let's say nature was pristine and we were drinking water from a running stream out in nature, we'd be getting some minerals and stuff from it that we need. So
Yeah,
water
maybe some
isn't.
amoebas.
Yeah, maybe some amoebas, but water isn't just meant to be this flat thing that just wets your whistle, if you will. It's meant to like do certain things in your body. But yeah, that's we'll look into that because that's like super high level.
Yeah. But it's not a bad thought, like trying to optimize things that you have to have, like, right? So we have to have water. Oh my God, I had a patient who's like, I drink 16 ounces of water every day. I'm like,
my boy is dying. My boy is dying.
oh.
That hurts to
And
me
when I
just
told
think.
him like 64 ounces, he's like, I'm going to drown. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're fine.
So, but start thinking about filtering water, which brings me to the next one. Drinking plastic water bottles. Guys.
I had this conversation with the one of the young blue belts at jiu-jitsu. What's his name? Shoot. Can't recall his name. Longer hair one.
Zach? Whatever, somebody from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Anyway, he's young. He's like 20s, early 20s. And we just got new gi, which is awesome. And some people were putting it on right away and he had gotten it. And somebody's like, why aren't you putting your gi on? And he's like, I don't want those chemicals on my body.
Nice.
I was
Let's
like,
go.
my man. I was like, you don't know how long it's been in that plastic bag. He's
Let's
like, pour out in the
go.
sun. So you don't know how long, like the pallets of plastic bags, like plastic water bottles that are sitting outside the gas station or sitting in the gas station window.
Oh, that's
like how long have they been sitting in the sun, either
they're
to purchase or then to
warehoused,
go
yeah.
into the fridge? And that sun heats up the bottles, when things get heated up, they become more mobile, right? So molecules are
that's
moving.
leached with plastic. So guys, definitely you want to get a cup, like a stainless steel cup that you can put your water. Some form of filtration is better than no form of filtration.
Mason jars are our cups.
And this is where you do what you can with what you got. Some form of filtration is better than none. For tap water, speaking here. The plastic water bottle thing, first of all, it limits, like people that drink water bottles tend to drink less water. It's observational.
Oh, like disposable water bottles?
Yeah, like disposable.
Because I keep this
No.
things on
Yeah,
me.
if you have disposable water bottles, they tend to drink less water. Second of all, to your point, what you were saying about the plastic water bottles, and obviously there's a thing where you're drinking too much water, but whatever. Let's talk to the people that are drinking 16 ounces of water a day. It is estimated that water bottles that you're buying at the store today have been in that bottle for over a year.
No, sir.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
And this stuff is in warehouses that are not climate controlled. So this plastic is just all up in that water, leached up all up in that water. That does not sound like something that we should be drinking. It reminds me when I was in Iraq, we used to have water points, and they would bottle, the base I was in would bottle its own water. This is Al Assad Air Base, for those, if you know, you know, Western Iraq. And they would put them in water points, shaded water points all over the base. So people would just grab a case of water, like 12 water bottles.
Were they plastic?
Oh yeah, they were plastic water bottles, and they were wrapped up like you'd buy a case of water bottles now, the same thing, but these were Al Assad Air Base bottled waters. And this thing, some of the water points you would go to and you would see the water bottles that had been there for a minute. The water was yellow ass water. All that plastic got leached into that stuff. I mean, I'm sure the fresh ones were no better because they'd gotten heated up in that desert sun too. But this goes to say, like, hey, it's probably not a good idea to be drinking that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then I would say other things to optimize your health that are easy to avoid stuff is natural light when possible. Get outside, open windows, sit by windows, get out of fluorescent lights, get out of blue, away from blue lights. I think, and I'm not saying never, right? You can never look at a computer screen the rest of your life. That's impossible. But
It's my
yeah,
goal.
so I would try just to get more exposure to natural air, natural light. Those are the biggest things to try to reduce exposure.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think that I had a bunch of other topics that we didn't get to, but we'll get to those eventually. I like this because we're compiling topics for Oprah-like health variety shows. No Illuminati. Okay. But yeah, I think that's an episode.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, comments, feedback, whatever, you can DM us at Achieve the Lifestyle on Instagram, shoot us an email at info@achievethelifestyle.com. Rate and review the podcast, leave a comment on the podcast, share this. Because really we want to be helpful in regards to awareness, and like how we ended today's episode. Yes, we talked about doom and gloom, glyphosate, things like that. But hey, the goal is just to reduce exposure to toxicities because our body is great at combating stuff at a certain level. So here's some things we can do. So we hope to help out with some of those tips at the end.
Yeah, it's a sliding scale. We always talk about this. You got 0 over here, and it doesn't make sense to say there's all this stuff against us, so I'm just going to stay at 0. No, just slide on over to the healthier side. How do you get to 10? How do you get to 20? How do you get to 50? That's where we're at, because if you only get to 20, you're going to be better off than if you stay at 0. And if you get to 50, you're going to be better off than if you stay at 20. You get what I'm saying? So slide that scale in your favor little by little by adopting little things. Hey, I'm going to eat better 9 times out of 10. I'm going to get outside 2 days a week. Maybe I get outside 3 days a week, and so forth.
I think
I'm going to stop drinking bottled water. I'm going to switch over to this stainless steel container. Little things that just start putting, you start stacking little wins in your favor.
I think one episode we should do is talk about the liver, because it's your body's natural detoxification process. Yep. And too many people, they're like, I need to go on a cleanse. I need to go on a detox with juices. And it's like,
oh, you know what? We should
you got
talk
an organ
about
that does that.
Oh, we should talk about detoxes at some point. Yeah.
So it'll be good.
Okay.
And then just a little spoiler alert, the liver needs protein for adequate detoxification. So when you go on that juice cleanse, not helping yourself.
So do you mean I shouldn't stop eating meat? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir.
Okay, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the PharmaPhobic podcast. If you found this conversation interesting, which I know you did, make sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And also make sure to check us out on Instagram at Achieve the Lifestyle. And if you're interested in pursuing a stronger, healthier, more capable version of yourself, check out our website at achievethelifestyle.com.
The PharmaPhobic podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not constitute medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider before making any medical or wellness decisions. While we discuss pharmaceutical, holistic, and alternative health topics, our content is not a substitute for professional medical guidance.